The map of GTA 4 has to be the most densely populated video game map I've ever seen. Yes, this budget New York City has everything you'd expect it to have, like its famous boroughs, Central Park, and of course the Statue of Happiness. And if you for some reason want to watch someone painstakingly analyze every single part of it to determine its population, all the while going just slightly insane, you have once again made a great video choice. But to keep myself sane for as long as possible, I will start my count with the only part of the GTA 4 map that's not just a massive collection of concrete skyscrapers and depression, Alderney. That's because a large part of this island consists of quite affluent suburban houses. This suburban neighborhood will also help me to explain how I'm going to count the rest of the map. As anybody familiar with video games will be able to tell you, counting the amount of people on a large map directly is a bit hard, so instead I will count the amount of houses and apartments, and multiply that with the amount of people that live in one household. And luckily for us, the Americans kept great track of their population. In the 2000s, the population per household in New York swung around the 2.6 to 2.7 people per household. Now with that out of the way, let's take a closer look at Alderney. Cause whilst at first glance this island looks about as easy to count as an average LCPD officer's caloric intake, once we look a bit closer, we'll find that it's actually kind of doable. In the north we have the aforementioned suburb. And whilst these houses might look like they're inhabited by inspirationless zombies that, when asked the question, "What would you like in your beautiful spacious front yard?" in unison answered, "Grass!" This suburb did make for easy counting. Even easier to count was the southernmost part of the island, mainly because nobody lived there. It's just a bunch of industry. And bada bing, bada donuts, half of the first island is already done. But we do still have these apartments and skyscraper forest over here. Man, this is gonna be a pain in the ass to count. Yes, hello with Nico? No, I don't want to go bowling. Yes, I am talking about skyscrapers. Wait till night, you say? At night, it turned out that Roman had been useful for once in his life, cause in the dark it is very easy to see what building is an office and thus is uninhabited. And I guess all the office space for lease signs kind of helped me out too. And it turned out specifically this island had an immense amount of offices, which excluded many blocks from being counted altogether. In total, there were 1,555 houses and apartments in southern Alderney, around 4,200 people. Northern Alderney had a tiny bit more, with 1,911 apartments, good for about 5,100 people. Now, because I strictly want to avoid going insane for a little longer, it's time to quickly pass by this and move straight to Bohan, Dukes and Broker. And phenomenal landing. Now the first thing you should notice about this neighborhood is that it looks depressing as hell. And now you might think, commugum, you just quickly altered the weather whilst we weren't looking. But no, it doesn't matter at all what weather setting I select, everything is on a scale from grey to even more grey. And that's also one of the reasons I grouped these neighborhoods together. All three are filled to the brim with what has to be the most depressing architecture west of the Soviet Union, with copy-paste flats, copy-paste apartments and these iconically depressing East Coast row houses. And whilst these buildings might make for a sober neighborhood, at least these still look habitable. It's only when you step away from the endless concrete into one of the dirt alleys, I truly get the feeling that society has collapsed, about a decade ago. Specifically this bit of Bohan is doing particularly awful. And with that I mean, literally every building is bricked and boarded shut. To be fair, not everything looks like an open crack then. Next to the depressing kind, there's also a wow, that looks cool, I would like to live there kind of row housing in this area. Also quite remarkable is that apart from the copy-paste apartment buildings, there's only one actual skyscraper in all of the three eastern boroughs. It's this big old tower that looks to be an office building. Luckily for me, the other office buildings over here are also easily identifiable because for some reason the devs decided to use different window textures than in Alderney, which are still not great looking, but are at least high enough resolution for me to be able to make out something that I think to be a computer screen. Specifically in Broker, but also in the other boroughs, there's still a fair bit of industry. All three also have their own park. And even though most apartments were low to the ground, the fact there was quite a lot of them still meant that the population of these boroughs is quite a bit higher than those in Alderney. There's 1700 apartments and housing units for 4500 people in Dukes, 3200 apartments for 8600 people in Bohan, and 4100 apartments for 11,000 people in Broca. Which, goddamn, that's like more than half of what the entirety of Los Santos had. Luckily for me, it's now finally over. What's that, Nico? What does your big oversized nose smell? Oh fuck, it's Manhattan! The borough of Algonquin is truly different from any subdivision of any city I have ever counted before. Well, no shit, it's literally video game Manhattan. But man, I do not understate when I say this took me days to count. 2 to be precise, but still days! This borough, as you can expect, basically has no space not devoted to big fuck-off buildings. Now this part of the city was quite varied, with offices, of course Central Park, quite a couple of hotels, designed as apartment buildings, the sneaky bastards, for some of which I really had to look hard to find the "Don't count me, I'm a hotel" sign, and of course an incredible amount of apartment buildings. Let's just say this all slightly cooked my brain. But if I look past the mental anguish of counting all this shit, Algonquin is easily the coolest part of GTA 4. This is where by far the most iconic buildings are located, like the Empire State Building, this in real life super old triangle shaped skyscraper, over here's Times Square with its gazillion ads, and my personal favorite New York skyscraper, the Chrysler Building. Now overall I think the changes you guys made to New Amsterdam are not that bad. And with all these skyscrapers, it's no surprise that the most dense block of housing is located among the super tall skyscrapers. Some of those apartment counts are over 1,000, with the most being on this gigantic block. This single block has over 2,000 apartments. And ooh, that shows in the numbers. Because for the north, there were 8,700 apartments, able to contain 23,000 people, already more than the whole of GTA 5. But for the southern part, there were 16,800 apartments for 45,000 people. Well, no shit this took so long. Now, before we go to the totals, I want to quickly explain some of the decisions I made about what I did and didn't count. In large part, I held myself to the same rules as I laid out in the GTA 5 video. So no offices, no hotels, no industry, because whilst technically you could possibly live there, normally people don't tend to. For the offices and or apartments, there were quite some that were just very hard to identify as one or the other. In such cases, I just trusted that something that looks like office is probably office, and something that looks like apartment is probably apartment. So now all of that means you should probably take the upcoming totals with an industrial pinch of salt. In total, Liberty City has 38,000 apartment/housing units, which means a total population of 101,000 people. Due to many factors, my own incompetence being one of them, but also possible homelessness and a whole host of others, I think the actual population lies probably a bit higher than that. But I think keeping to the range of 100,000 to 110,000 should be pretty much on the money. Which, goddamn, that's a lot. For my fellow Dutch folks, that's an actual city about the size of Delft. Well, exactly the size of Delft. And for my American viewers, it's about a fifth the size of the population of Staten Island, the smallest New York borough. And now before I go, I've not yet gotten the time to say this in a video, so I guess I'll do it now. Thanks for 10,000 subscribers. It's not quite the population in GTA 4, but man, that's a lot of people to like your work. Further, on the YouTube front, I've decided, now that I do quite some of these population videos and some other stuff that takes a bit longer, I'm going to divorce myself from my one video a week schedule. For most of the videos I'd like to make, I just simply need more time. GTA 4 being an exceptional example, because damn, this took long. Just look at the amount of hours I played this game. For example, next to counting all this stuff, I also needed to play through a big part of the story to unlock every island. But hey, I hope the wait was worth it. In the future I'll probably stay clear from these monster projects, but I guess for once it was pretty fun to see it through. Speaking about big projects, I also got an idea for a new series, for which I think I'll try out a video in a couple of weeks. The idea is somewhat related to the population series, but I think it's interesting to a wider range of people. But I'll see when I get that done. In the meanwhile, I think there's gonna be some more normal videos. So thank you for watching and hopefully see you next video. Bye bye.